Look up in the sky! It's an asteroid! It's a... is that a whale? No, it's Rosie O'Donnell, our hero of the day!
Wherever Rosie O'Donnell's gone, she's probably eating a leprechaun.
Rosie O'Donnell stepped directly into a trap she never noticed being set. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly were not simply waiting to criticize her. They were waiting to take her apart completely, methodically, mercilessly, with the kind of calm, practiced efficiency that makes a takedown feel almost inevitable in hindsight. What unfolds when Rosie attempts to assert herself and instead crumbles spectacularly under the pressure of her own positions? Something genuinely extraordinary. This is more entertaining than anything Hollywood has produced in years, and considerably more satisfying. Do not go anywhere. What comes next will genuinely floor you.
She's our hero of the day for leaving America if Trump won and relocating to Ireland, where she's still not funny. So many celebs say they're going to do it but never do, but does she have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country.
If chronic self-sabotage had a public face, a bottomless grievance list, and a complete immunity to self-reflection, it would look and sound remarkably like Rosie O'Donnell at her most confident after spending decades managing to turn opportunity after opportunity into something that benefits no one. You might reasonably expect some kind of adjustment, some recalibration, even the smallest, quietest flicker of humility making a surprise appearance. Instead, Rosie continues operating on the same fundamental belief she has always held, that saying something with enough force and repetition eventually makes it correct. It does not work that way. It has never worked that way. And yet somehow, here we all are again.
We are about to see Miranda, the character played by Cynthia Nixon, who is so annoying, in bed with a virgin nun played by Rosie O'Donnell. I just threw up a little in my mouth. Go ahead, roll it.
You are amazing.
Oh.
I have never experienced anything like that.
Oh.
Ew.
That's a nice way to wake up.
Oh, you are really, really something.
And?
Oh my God, yes. It felt so, I don't know, electric, and yet still so natural. I never dreamed my first time could be both those things.
First time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I'm so grossed out, Emily. You have to talk. I can't.
Hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this only accelerates from here. Rosie's entire public identity can be understood through a very specific kind of person everyone has encountered at least once. The one who arrives at every gathering without contributing anything, immediately dominates every conversation with emotional content nobody requested, and somehow departs having consumed more than anyone else in the room. She is relentless, she is loud, and she is operating under the persistent and incorrect belief that volume alone constitutes a meaningful contribution. Watching her lunge repeatedly for relevance is like observing someone cause the same accident over and over, and each time respond by suggesting that what everyone just witnessed was actually a creative choice.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
And so, Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld entered the conversation, armed with documentation, barely concealed exhaustion, and the collective weariness of two people who have absorbed one too many Rosie O'Donnell episodes to remain diplomatically silent any longer. They have heard the entire back catalog, every familiar hit, the greatest of grievances, the eternal victimhood, the conspiracy of circumstances that somehow always manages to center exclusively on Rosie, and the perennial chart topper about how absolutely nothing that has ever gone wrong has been even remotely her responsibility. They reached their limit, and they made absolutely certain that everyone within earshot was aware of exactly that.
But once you've decided against all evidence and reality that you are the good guy, you can excuse anything. They even push the myth that Musk is in it for himself. Have you seen Tesla's stock lately? It's lower than Rosie O'Donnell's testicles. Slow.
When Megyn Kelly decides to take aim at someone, what follows does not resemble ordinary criticism. It resembles a patient, methodical professional watching a situation deteriorate in slow motion, and then providing a calm, thorough, point-by-point account of precisely how and why. Kelly looked at Rosie and did not see someone with a political perspective worth engaging. She did not see a comedian with a point of view. She saw a living, breathing lesson in what happens when ego goes entirely unchecked for too long. And she delivered that assessment with the composed efficiency of someone who had been rehearsing it for years. Gutfeld, meanwhile, arrived with the energy of someone who had already run completely out of patience before the conversation even began. One look at Rosie's most recent public commentary was all it required. His reaction captured something millions of people experience on a near daily basis. That particular brand of exhaustion that sets in the moment Rosie appears on a screen and begins speaking. Because Rosie O'Donnell possesses a singular, almost impressive talent for transforming any format she occupies into something that feels less like entertainment and more like an endurance test. Her tenure on television felt like a masterclass in what happens when someone mistakes personal emotional processing for public discourse, when logic is permanently uninvited and self-awareness has never once found the location.
Wow, she's nuts. Hey. Apparently America couldn't be happier, but like I said, she's our hero of the day for doing what so many other celebs don't have the guts to do. Wow, first Ellen, now Rosie. Makes you wonder what lesbian will leave next. Julie, she seems miserable, and it doesn't really matter where she goes. She's trying to get away from whatever is inside her, because I looked at her and I go like, wow, she has changed.
Her approach to any argument follows a very consistent and very predictable structure. Escalate the volume, introduce herself as the central victim, and expand the list of responsible parties until it includes essentially everyone and everything except herself. Ask her a single direct question and receive in return an extended, winding monologue that somehow implicates forces entirely unrelated to whatever was originally asked. Gutfeld attempted to follow the thread of her most recent commentary and abandoned the effort partway through, because tracking Rosie's logic apparently requires a specific combination of specialized knowledge, pattern recognition, and access to equipment most people do not keep nearby. Even after all of that effort, the central question remains unanswered. What precisely is the actual complaint this time? The answer, consistent across years and formats, is everything simultaneously. The state of the world, the people thriving in it, the people not outraged enough about it, various household appliances, the general concept of contentment, and underneath all of it, the creeping suspicion that everything continued moving forward without waiting for her approval. Megyn Kelly was simply the first person willing to say, clearly and on record, what had been the overwhelming consensus for quite some time. Enough. This is not a movement. This is a recurring public episode, and the difference matters enormously.
The herpes virus. I'm sorry, Exhibit A. Here is Rosie O'Donnell bitching and moaning about her favorite person, Donald Trump. I think this is before she moved. I can't keep track of where she's living in the world to avoid him. Watch.
Well, hey, everybody, it's Friday all day, as my Nana would say. And look what I have on my lip. Everybody's been saying, you have herpes all this time, and I never had a cold sore in my life. And now I have a cold sore. And it makes me think that perhaps this weird pimple that had a tiny little head was a cold sore too. And so I talked to my doctor today, and I did a video telehealth, and they said that it's not a cold sore, it's some reaction to the sun.
Which raises the genuinely reasonable question. What is Rosie's current body of work exactly? Identify one recent project, just one. That was not a poorly framed, aggressively lit, emotionally unfiltered social media dispatch fired into the world from what appeared to be a location with no production value and considerable ambient frustration. Her most reliable recent output has been a sustained public argument with circumstances she finds personally offensive, delivered in the aesthetic register of someone who has given up entirely on presentation but not on being heard. Her performance career follows its own consistent pattern. Every character a slight variation on the same core identity, every role requiring roughly the same emotional bandwidth, delivered at roughly the same volume. Her social media presence functions as a timeline of a person processing every passing emotion in public, in sequence, without editing. Scrolling through it produces the specific discomfort of watching someone do something very private in a very public space, apparently unbothered by the audience.
Everybody hates her. That's the same thing with Rosie. You know why she's leaving, right? We know why she's leaving. Come on, we know. It's literally an ego trip. Once nobody likes you, you just leave.
So when are you leaving, Jesse?
It's such mundane commentary. Oh, we agree. You're so enlightened. Oh, I agree with her. Oh, shut up. She's lying to you. She's not leaving because by the way, if you keep your home in America, you're not moving.
Every time Rosie absorbs public criticism, she reframes the experience as evidence of her significance, as though being taken apart repeatedly in front of an audience constitutes some form of meaningful resistance. It does not. It constitutes logging on when the results are reliably the same and continuing anyway. Gutfeld described her online commentary as the digital equivalent of something that sounds like it should contain wisdom, arrives in a context that undermines it entirely, and ultimately delivers nothing of use to anyone involved. Megyn Kelly approached Rosie's career history with the thoroughness of someone documenting something for the record, cataloging the failed formats, the catastrophic moments of public judgment, the consistent pattern of decisions that produced consistent results, none of them good. The overall picture that emerged was of someone who has served across many years and many platforms as her own most effective obstacle. Rosie has described herself as misunderstood. This is a mischaracterization of the problem. Misunderstood implies that the audience failed to receive the intended message. The audience received the message clearly, consistently, and across multiple formats. The issue was never comprehension. The issue was the content of what was being communicated and what it revealed about the person communicating it.
Rosie O'Donnell told CNN it's heartbreaking to watch Donald Trump destroy the country from her new home of Ireland. Meanwhile, Ireland told CNN it's heartbreaking that there's not enough Guinness to make Rosie O'Donnell look pretty.
Gutfeld's description of how Rosie processes reality landed with particular accuracy. An automated system that makes contact with an obstacle, loses its orientation entirely, generates significant noise throughout the process, and proceeds under the sincere impression that all of this constitutes productive activity. Her positions are not new positions. They are the same positions, reheated, repackaged, and redelivered with additional emotional intensity each time around. When Rosie announced that the world had treated her with excessive harshness, Megyn Kelly received this information with a silence that communicated considerably more than any verbal response could have. The world, Kelly noted, had provided Rosie with television, with a comedy platform, with Broadway, with audience after audience prepared to receive whatever she had to offer. What Rosie provided in return was a sustained, multi-decade public processing of personal grievance delivered to rooms full of people who had not requested the experience. Every interview eventually arrives at the same destination, the suggestion that no one can fully comprehend what she has endured, a claim made somewhat complicated by the fact that the account changes depending on when it is being told, and the feud, the one that became less a specific conflict and more an organizing principle of her entire public identity, continues to occupy the center of her narrative long after everyone directly involved and most of the observers moved on to other things. Kelly observed, with some understatement, that at some point an external intervention of some kind should reasonably have occurred. Instead, Rosie built her permanent residence inside that conflict and has shown no interest in relocating.
Rosie O'Donnell apologized to Ireland's Prime Minister for overshadowing his visit to the White House. She also apologized for overshadowing the Western Hemisphere. That's a fat joke. So currently, the Democrat Party's brand is about as appealing as Rosie O'Donnell river dancing in a thong. It's so bad even Bill Maher doesn't think we'll ever see a Democrat president again.
Gutfeld described her daily process as something resembling a randomized selection mechanism, producing a target, generating the appropriate level of indignation, and proceeding from there without deviation or reflection. She has become the clearest available illustration of what results when an unchecked sense of personal importance collides with a significantly reduced audience and an abundance of unstructured time. Her current comedic output has the structural quality of a motivational address delivered by someone in the middle of an unresolved personal crisis. The material and the emotional state of the person delivering it are in direct and visible conflict with each other at all times. Kelly noted that Rosie's demonstrated performance range could, in theory, be replicated by something considerably simpler, something with access to a narrow emotional register and no mechanism for genuine reflection, and the output would be largely indistinguishable from what currently exists.
It's too upsetting.
Anybody wanted
Donald Trump would never inflict herpes on Rosie O'Donnell. I think he's made that very clear.
Since Eliana refuses to play, Emily, I've got another soundbite for you.
I didn't even know Sex and the City was back on the air. I saw it when you were
happening. You have to react live to the herpes. I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh, you know what? The culture stuff, that's Emily's bailiwick anyway.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's another beauty. This is Rosie in another scene singing to Miranda. Enjoy.
Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good.
That's from Wicked.
I think Eric.
Go ahead.
Some comedy, finally. Finally, Rosie O'Donnell is back with comedy.
Her foray into political commentary deserves its own specific examination. She appeared on a panel convened to address a serious and consequential subject, and within a short period had redirected the entire conversation toward personal inconveniences and internal emotional weather. Somewhere, people who had devoted significant effort to that subject watched and said nothing, because there was nothing useful left to say. Rosie positions herself as someone who speaks difficult truths that others avoid. The more accurate description is someone who speaks with great confidence about things she has not examined carefully in a format that does not invite correction to an audience that is given no opportunity to respond. 1. Gutfeld's description of her political commentary as something that has been sitting in a shared space far past the point of usefulness, affecting everything around it, was not the most charitable framing available, but it was not obviously wrong either. Kelly's summary was perhaps the most efficient available. Watching Rosie engage with a substantive argument is like watching an entirely wrong tool applied to a task it was never designed to perform. Technically, something is happening, but nothing useful is being accomplished, and the situation is somehow worse at the end than it was at the beginning. And now, the current chapter. Platforms with minimal production, visible frustration, and the unmistakable energy of someone who cannot locate the source of the problem because the source of the problem is not something she is currently willing to look at directly. The microphone was available, the platforms were provided, the audiences showed up. What was done with all of that repeatedly and across many years is now the permanent public record, and no amount of volume, reframing, or reassignment of blame changes a single frame of it.